So guys, welcome. So here we have our panels here. I've gone ahead to overlock all my raw edges, so I'm going to be joining. Here are my facings. I have here the 3 panels, so I'm going to join my panels together first before I even work on my interfacing. So for the this is the front part of the dress. So for the front piece, I'm just going to go ahead and match it together with the back piece. I'm just trying to check the right side, facing right side. Then I'm starting with the shoulder line, so I'm just going ahead to sew. So I'm just joining my shoulder. Depending on how much seam allowance you left, that's what you're going to be working with. So I'm joining one of the shoulders, then I'm bringing the other side of the dress. This is the other back side. So I'm just going to go ahead and match my armhole, then I connect. So I'm just joining my shoulder. I just don't want to like kind of raise the dress, then I do that before I come back raise it. That's why I did that. So you can see this is it. So I'm going to go further to join my side seams. So you remember we left 1 inch sewing allowance, so I'm going to sew on that 1 inch sewing allowance that we left. That's what I'm going to be using. So I'm just using my sewing machine guide here to see my seam allowance. This guide that is on the plate of the plate that the foot rests on. So that's where I'm using as a guide to know where my 1 inch is. So I'm just sewing the side of the dress. So this dress is actually really easy and work on my facing. So here are my facing pieces. So just like I joined my bodies, right, that's how I'm going to be joining my facing as well. So just joining the side piece of the other facing. So here we go. This is our facing. So I'm just going to turn it, then I'll bring back my front piece. Then now I'm going to match my right sides facing each other. So I'm going to match all my neckline together. Then I'll pin it down. My seam, where my seams, I will make sure my seam aligns. Shoulder to shoulder, neckline to neckline, like so. So I've gone ahead to pin down my facing together with my dress. I'm going to go ahead and stitch that down now. So you can see I'm just using about ½ inch to stitch that down. I ensure that my shoulder point matches each other. You can see this is my shoulder line and it matches the shoulder line of my dress. So there you go. just going to join this all through. I'm just top stitching, so I'm pushing all the seam allowances from under towards the facing. Then I'm top stitching like one or 2 millimeter away from my sewing line, from my seam line. So that's what I'm just going ahead to stitch. So this is what our top stitching looks like, so you can see. So what it does is it helps you to just keep the facing inside, and it doesn't have to be poking out of your dress like that. So this is what we have now. So I'm going to do the armhole. So to turn over the shoulder, because I want all the raw edges, all this overlocked part to be inside, not on the outer side, and I don't want to bind it with bias or anything. So I want to use the facing to turn it over. So to do that is a little bit tricky. So I've gone over to pin this side, that's the shoulder point and the armhole point. I'm going to take out those pins, but I just want to show you how I achieved that. So I'm going on the inside of the dress like this. This is the facing part. I'm going to put my hands inside the facing. Now I'll take out that pin, but I'll make sure that I hold that place. I secure that place with my hands. Then I'm going to put my hands inside the facing, then grab the seam. I'll fold it inside like this, then I'll grab it with my fingers from that inside, then I'll bring it out like this. Then when it comes out, I'm going to match that point, that's the right side. I'm going to match it right side, facing right side. Sorry, I missed that, so I'm going to bring it back and do it again. That's something that can happen to you as well. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to put my hands in, then fold the both sides inwards, right side facing right side, then secure it with my hand. Then I'll hold that before I turn that over. Okay, I got it this time around. So this is it. I'm just going to match that seam line. I'll match that seam line, then I'll pin it down. Just match my seam line like so. So you know that the shoulder point here is not wide, so that's why it's giving that kind of stress. So I'm just going to make sure that everything is steady, then I'll pin it down. Then I'm going to start sewing, but before I sew, I'm bringing out the other side of the shoulder. So what I'm going to be sewing is half of my armhole, then I'll turn it over and start sewing the other side. So from this shoulder point, I'm going to start sewing. I'll take out my pin. When my needle gets that point, then I take out my pin and start sewing. I'm not going to sew all the way through to the other point. I'm not sewing it round all the way. I'm just going to stop halfway. That's on my other, where my other pin is. I'm taking out that pin, but that's where I'm going to stop my sewing. When I get to this point, I'll stop sewing, then I'll turn it over. See, this side is sewn and this side is open. Before I do that, sorry, I didn't mention I'm supposed to make notches so that it will enable it lie flat properly. So whenever you're sewing a lining or a facing or anything you're turning over, and it's a curve, not a straight line, you will need to cut through the sewing allowance so that the curve will not strain the fabric. I don't know how to explain that better than that. So that's what I'm going to do. So you can see this side is fixed, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm putting my hands in. This time around it will be easier because I've sewn one half of it, so I'm just going to turn it like this. I'm going to sew the other side. I get to the other point where my seam stopped, I'll just back stitch and stop as well. Then I'll turn that over. Sorry, I'll make my notches before I turn it over. Now make sure that as you're cutting your notches, it doesn't cut through to your seam. Let it just go close to your seam line, but let it not cut through your seam, because if it cuts through, it's going to tear your fabric, and that's going to appear on the outer part of your clothes. Sometimes you might not find any other way to fix that, so it will end up ruining your garments. Here's my blouse. I've turned it over. This is my armhole. I've given it a press. So this is what I'm going to do. This is, you remember that part that I said I'm going to use for the design. I've just gone ahead to give it some little gathers. I made gathers out of it or will I say, yeah, gathers. I just drawed it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it in front of the dress like so. Then it's the same thing that is going to make up for our cold shoulder. So what I'm going to do now is to find the midpoint of my dress at the front and the midpoint of this stuff. So I'm just going to match it like so. Then here I have the midpoint here, so I'm going to just put a pin on that midpoint. I'm just going to place a pin there to help me. Then I'll come over to find the midpoint of my dress. I'm just going to match the shoulder, the midpoint of the front part of my dress. That's what I'm trying to find. So I'm just going to press it down to create a crease there to see. So by the time I turn it over, I have my midpoint here where this creased line is. So I'm just going to grab my tape. This one is broken. I'll grab another one. Then I'll check where I want this to be. So I'm just going to measure. I have 4 inches here. From the neckline, I want it to be low by 4 inches. Let me just grab a chalk. So I'm going to mark that 4-inch point. Then I'm going to grab this and start sewing from the midpoint So what I'm going to do now is to sew like this till I get to this point of my sleeve. So I want the gathers to come together a little more. So I'll just gather it nicely again. Now I'm just going to flip that and sew. So what I'm doing is just to sew from the midpoint through the sleeve. That's what I'm doing. Now I'm showing on the wrong side of the designer material. I'm placing right side facing right side, like so. I'll sew all the way to the armhole. For the armhole is going to be somewhere around the midpoint of the armhole. When I get to that point, I'll just back stitch. I'll do the same thing for this side. I'm just going to measure where my design stopped on the armhole from the shoulder line. I'll just measure so that I can find the same point is 7 inches. So I'm going to measure 7 inches as well on this point. Then I'll just mark that point there. Then I'll come over with this one. see what it looks like. So I'm going to sew it over to my zip point. I just let some space. I just let some space here where my hand can pass through. Then I'm sewing the remaining parts to the back. I'm just back stitching that. Let me show you what I did there. So this is what I did. This is the back side. So I just let this side where my hand will be. So that's the cold shoulder. Let me show you what I did on the other side, in case you didn't get it the first time. So on the zip line, this is my zip line. I marked 9 inches from my neck point downwards here. I marked 9 inches here. Then I just matched my shoulder like this to find where I had this one stopping on this other part of the shoulder. So I just marked that point. So I'm going to bring the extreme end of this point, and then I would place it. Now ordinarily I should place it like this, but I don't want it to be like this and then turn it like this, because I just don't want it to be like that, so that when I turn it and I insert my zip, it will be like this. That's not what I want. I want here to have some form of a design, like a curve. So instead of doing that, I just fixed it like so, starting from here like this. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Till I get to the armhole, I'll back stitch. Then I'm going to chop this excess allowance that I have. I'll chop it out. Cut out any unwanted thread that is lingering on your dress. You want to cut that out. So this is it. At this point, this is what we have. So I'm going to fix my zip and finish my armhole. But before then, I'll close my dress. I have my zipper. I'm going to fix my zipper. Mind you, it's just 1 inch I left for my zipper, so that's what I'm going to use. guys, I've gone ahead to fix my zipper. You can see this is our zipper. So I'm coming over here to finish off our cold shoulder. So to finish this off, I'm going to take out this thread that I used to gather, because I'm going to be finishing that point off with an elastic band. If you don't want to use an elastic band, you can use bias, but I want an elastic band so that I can be more comfortable raising my arms, moving my arms around. So I'm using this elastic band here, this one here. So I'm going to measure 9 inches, measuring 9 inches, then I'm going to cut it from there. I'm making 2 of these. This is what I'm going to be using. So this is how I'm going to be doing that part. So on the right side, starting from this small allowance I have here, I'm going to place it there. Now I'm sewing on the right side of that material, but I'm going inside where I joined it on the shoulder of the dress. I'm just going in from that point. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to put an elastic like so, and so I will double stitch. Then I'll start sewing. As I'm sewing, I'll be drawing my elastic so that it can accommodate the entire length of when I get to this point, I'll back stitch. You can see this is what I have. So now my elastic is still on the right side, so I'm going to flip it over like so. Then I'll sew on the wrong side the same way I did the right side. Is the same thing I'm going to be doing. I would also be drawing that. There are so many ways to do the same thing here, but I find this one easier for me. So you can see this is our right side, is nice and clean. So now with this, I have extra room to move my arms. You can see I have extra room, so that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'll still do the same thing on this side. I'm taking out my gathers on this side. I want to do that again so that you can see now. On I'm just going to grab the right side of the cold shoulder attachment. I'm moving away my dress, anything that has to do with my dress. I'm just placing my elastic band. So from there I'm back stitch. Then I'll start sewing. As I'm sewing, I'll be drawing my elastic. So guys, if you have any questions or observations, there's anything you would like me to help you with, or any other tutorial you would like to see, you can drop that in the comment section and I'll be there to answer you. Just drop your comments. So this is it, guys. This other side is done. This is what our dress looks like. So I'm going to hem this dress. So this is our dress, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and you love my dress. If you do, please ensure to tag me on all your replications. I'll be so glad to see them. Timmy Kemza James on Instagram. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Please ensure to comment below all your questions, your contributions. I'll be so glad to see them. Share my video with your friends, like my video, subscribe to my channel, and see you in my next video, guys. Bye.